Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just got finished watching BNA, Brand New Animal. The new series that's on Netflix that was animated by Studio Trigger, the same studio that gave us Darling in the Franxx and Kill la Kill. So, it seems that furry anime have definitely been gaining a lot more traction recently, especially with the popularity of films like Zootopia, and with the last Netflix hit, that being about the same subject, that being Beastars. So this series, it happens to essentially be the anime version of Zootopia in many ways, only with Trigger's typical style of over-the-top action, characters with lots of depth and likability to them, and messages about discrimination and what it means to be a human, what it means to be an animal, that sort of thing. The story is about Michiru Kagemori, a typical Japanese high school girl who ends up becoming a beastman one day and manages to find a way to avoid the discriminative humans around her to get to Anima City, which is supposedly a safe haven for the beastmen of the world, who've apparently existed for thousands of years, stretching all the way back to our earliest history. While at Anima City, she meets various other characters, including Shiro Ogami, who is a wolf beastman who desires justice for all beastmen and has quite a big dislike for most humans. So Michiru and Shiro happen to work together to try and discover a evil conspiracy going on in the city, while also fighting crime the whole way through. So, the story of the series basically manages to slowly introduce the city's main players through its first half, get a lot of stuff done with backstory and with the villain's ultimate reveal in the second half, and end with a huge bonkers climax that may go a little bit too fast in the 12th and final episode, but also manages to feature some jaw-dropping animation and some pretty powerful messaging in typical Trigger fashion. A lot of what makes the show work is because the characters, particularly Michiru and Shiro, are so well-defined and likable. Michiru definitely has her faults when it comes to her rushing into situations without much of a plan and thinking she knows the best for everyone at all times, but she's still likable in the sense that she's naive and she definitely develops quite a bit over the course of the story. Shiro is very much the same way. We learn things about him that definitely do hinge on the backstory of the whole world of BNA, and I do think his hatred towards humanity does sort of soften up throughout the series. Plus, he's just a badass during the action scenes, so that just helps out his likability even more. On top of that, you have other characters like Marie the Mink, who happens to provide some good comic relief, Mayor Rose and Alan Solasta, who provide some exposition along some interesting turns during the last act, and a ton of other faces that are good side characters that either add more depth to the world or have their own side stories that happen to get a lot of good attention. And even though the action-packed climax of the end of the series is definitely fun, one of my favorite episodes was surprisingly one of them in the middle, the baseball-themed episode. Mainly because of the parallels it has with baseball players like Jackie Robinson with one of the characters, as well as the fact that Trigger can make a game that is possible in real life seem so otherworldly when you compare it to the Beastman version. On top of that, the music, especially the OP and the ED, are both solid, as even though there's an option to skip the intro, this is one of those few intros that I did not skip at all because it's just that catchy to go through. No episode seems to overstay its welcome, most of the characters get a satisfying conclusion at the end, and outside of a couple of instances where there's a bit of tonal inconsistency, I do feel this is one of the better productions Trigger has had as far as plot and character. So overall, I'm going to give BNA a 9 out of 10. See you next time.